able to hear us?
Yes, we can.
We're on there.
Right, okay, so I think we're live now. So, hi everyone, my name's Charlotte, I'm from Healthwatch Bury, and today our Facebook Live is going to be with Greater Manchester North Diabetic Eye Screening Service. So hopefully we can get a lot of useful information for you lovely lot. So let me just run through a couple of ground rules first. So we would like, number one, for everyone to be accepting. Everyone is welcome regardless of race, ethnicity, national origin, religious affiliation, sexual orientation, sex, gender identity, or ability. We need to respect people's boundaries. We don't want to make advances or comments on appearance that might make someone feel uncomfortable. And we don't want to be rude, don't intentionally provoke, threaten, or insult anyone on this live, please. We don't want to flood the chat either. It's important to keep the conversation going, but we don't want to repeatedly say the same comments because then things can get lost. We don't want to self-promote either. We're not here for a sales pitch, so we want to stay focused on the topic of the stream. If we have something interesting around diabetic eye screening to bring up, that would be brilliant. But apart from that, can we stay on topic, please? And we want to keep it clean. So if it's shocking, obscene, vulgar, or inflammatory language, we'd like to leave that out, please. So today, what's going to happen is we're going to go through a nice introduction with myself, and then the GM North Diabetic Eye Screening Service, Hina, Naomi, and Sarah are going to take over and give us their lovely presentation that they've took the time to prepare. And then we've got question and answers by Steph, where we can ask, if you put your questions in the comment box below, they will be monitored throughout the session and we can ask them then. So who are we? Healthwatch is your health and social care champion. We make sure NHS leaders and other decision makers hear your voice and use your feedback to improve care. We listen to your experiences of using health and social care services and share them with those with the power to make change happen. And we can also provide you with information and advice and signpost you to other services. So yeah, signposting to local or online support groups, information and advice about you or your family members' healthcare. We can listen to your experiences of using health and social care in Bury, and again, pass that information along to the people with the power. So if anyone would like to get in touch with us, I'll just leave this here for a second. It's our phone, our WhatsApp, email address, and our social media handles, as well as our website. Now, if you could just bear with me for 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and try and share the other one for us. Go. Sorry about this from beginning. Okay, so with that in mind, I'll hand it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. All right, so we work for the Diabetic Eye Screening Team in the Greater Manchester area, covering Bolton, Wigan, Bury, Haywood, Middleton and Rochdale. And we invite people who are aged 12 and over for diabetic eye screening, which is generally referred from your GP. All right, Sarah, do you want to?
Yep. So your guide to diabetic eye screening. Diabetic retinopathy condition occurs when diabetes affects the small blood vessels, damaging the part of the eye called the retina. It can cause the blood vessels in the retina to leak or become blocked. This can affect your sight. Diabetic eye screening is important as it helps to prevent sight loss. As someone with diabetes, your eyes are at risk of damage from diabetic retinopathy. Screening can detect this condition early before you notice any changes in your vision. Diabetic eye screening is part of managing your diabetes, and diabetic retinopathy is treatable, especially if caught early. Treatment is effective at reducing or preventing damage to your sight. Okay, now.
So hi, I'm Hina, your engagement officer for Greater Manchester North. So when you're invited to come to a diabetic eye screening program, for the patients in the Bury area, you're most likely to be invited to our clinic, which is at Moorgate Primary Care Centre, Wave Suite Reception, which is based on the 3rd floor, 22 Derby Way, Bury, BL9 ONJ. There is car parking available in front of the building as well, which you would be assisted by a relative or a driver, or through Northwest Ambulance Service, because we require you not to drive when you're coming as a patient to get your diabetic retinopathy screening. So when you actually attend the screening, we offer it to anyone who has been diagnosed with diabetes for age 12 and above. That's when you get an invitation. Screening is different to the test which is occurred by the optician. We are checking for diabetic changes to your eyes. As Sarah mentioned earlier on, the appointment takes around up to about 30 minutes. We provide 3 language interpreters and BSL interpreters as well when you attend your appointment. We do try to accommodate every patient's needs, despite if your first language is English, we will get through the appointment with assistance of our language line interpreters. Thank you.
So when a patient's invited for a diabetic eye screening, as Hina said, it's 30 minutes generally for an appointment, and you obviously attend the clinic. We'll ask some simple questions like your name, your date of birth, where your GP is, if you've got any history of any eye conditions like cataracts, glaucoma, if you're under the hospital for any reason with your eyes. And then we'll do a quick vision check. We'll read some numbers off a chart, and then the screener will put some eye drops in. The eye drops aren't the best thing. They do sting a little bit when they first go in, but this is for only a short period of time. The reason why we use the eye drops is so that your pupils are made bigger, so we can get a good clear picture of the back of your eye. This allows us to see a good clear picture. And then you'll wait for about 15 minutes while the drops take effect, usually in the waiting area, and then you're invited back in, and obviously we'll take some pictures, generally around 4 to 6 pictures that we take on each eye, and then these images are sent to our graders. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to discuss any images that are taken in clinic because the laptop screen that we take the images on isn't big enough to discuss the images. So these are sent off to the graders, and they'll go through different stages from 1st degree, 2nd degree grader, ROG and arbitration. And then you sent your results generally within 4 to 6 weeks after your appointment, bearing in mind that obviously we've got the Royal Mail strikes going on at the minute. So it might take a little bit longer, and the letter is sent to your GP and also to yourself. All right, and then there's obviously some images there. Don't be frightened by looking at these images, because obviously the first images is generally a normal vision, and then that can happen, the second image, if it's left untreated for a long period of time, but it does take a long time to get to that stage. And after your appointment, you'll be invited back generally every year, and if there's anything we want to monitor, then you might get called back sooner or referred to the eye hospital, which is Rochdale Infirmary or Bolton Hospital, and then they'll do treatment or monitor you that way. All right.
We look forward to seeing all our patients that have diabetes that are invited to the Diabetes Eye Screening Programme. If you do have any further queries, questions, concerns, how we can make your appointment comfortable for you, please do give us a call on either our bookings number on 01204 891 000, or you can contact us at the engagement team on 01204 891 001, or you can email us at gmnengagement@nhs.net, or you can look at our website as well at www.inhealthgroup, which will also take you to our main website, and you can look at all our different other venues and what we as a programme at In Health Intelligence provide our patients with the Diabetes Eye Screening Programme. Thank you, Charlotte.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you very much for that. I guess just like a lot of people, I didn't realise that diabetes affects the eyes. So what would happen if somebody didn't get checked out? That's just one question that seriously came in. You know, if it was just left and they thought, oh, like we do when we're busy, what's like worst case scenario for your eyes then? Do you lose complete vision or?
No, you'll lose vision if you don't come. So say your diabetes is uncontrolled, so you might be going to see the GP a lot more and things like that, and blood sugar levels are going up and up and up constantly. You'll get a constant reaction of retinopathy in the back of your eye, so constant leaking, and that can get worse and worse over time. So it will build up. So at first you'll get a grade of R1, which is background retinopathy, and then it might change to R2, which is proliferative, and pre-proliferative on the R3. So it goes in stages, and it's all about the good control and your good health, and looking after yourself as well. But it is silent. You don't know that, you know, this is happening in your eye, and that's the worst thing about it. You don't know it's there. And a lot of people have found when they've had just background retinopathy, which we see again in a year, it sort of gives them I get a lot of people go, I don't think I'm diabetic. But we say to them, oh, you've got background retinopathy. And they get the realization that, oh, I am diabetic. And I go, yes, you are, because only diabetics get back retinopathy. So then it makes them, in turn, look after themselves a little bit better and take it a little bit more seriously. But it's not all doom and gloom. We see things very early on. So if you come for your appointment every single year, we see it when it may be starting. So your GP will get the result letter and it'll say there is background retinopathy. Last year there wasn't. So we might get you in, check your blood glucose, check your diabetes medication, and change slight things. So the year after there may not be any retinopathy because you've got good control the year after. But if you don't come, we can't see the changes, and we can't implement what we need to implement for them changes. I hope that explains it a little bit.
No, absolutely. Yes. Sorry, I was just listening and that question came up, but I'm not the question and answer person. So I will hand over to Steph now, who has prepared some questions for you. And thank you very much for that. It was amazing.
Hi everyone, and just before that, I'd like to start asking the questions. Obviously, my mum is type 1 diabetic. She's been diabetic since the age of 13, so she's had it from childhood, type 1. And obviously, I know how important it is for you to get your eyes checked with diabetes. She's under the eye hospital at Fairfield and Rochdale. And you know, if you don't get your eyes checked regularly, diabetics who drive are also at risk of losing their licence, because if their eyesight deteriorates, then the DVLA will take their licence off them. So every 3 years, the DVLA will contact them, and if they've had any treatment, they will send them for a field test. And obviously, if they don't pass that field test, then their licence is taken off them. And I know a lot of people have lost the driving licence through being diabetic. So being diabetic doesn't just affect your blood sugars. The longer you have it, the more health impacts it can have on your kidneys, on your other organs, and also. So I have a lot of personal experience of diabetes, obviously, with having a mum with diabetes. So I thought that it was very important to be my own expertise of it. So one of the first questions I'd like to ask is, obviously you mentioned about the opticians. So if somebody is called up for a diabetic eye screening, do they still need to go to an optician?
Hi, Steph. Thanks for that one. Yes, definitely. The opticians monitor other things as well as, you know, prescribing glasses, distance glasses, reading glasses. They actually monitor other things like glaucoma. We do not do checks for glaucoma. The optician does checks for things like that. They monitor other things that may be happening in your eye and look at the front of your eye, things like that. We're looking at the retina. So we do not look at whether you need glasses, whether you've got glaucoma, whether you've got pressure in your eye, things like that. So it's really good. So if you normally go to the opticians once a year for a check, what I seem to say to my patients is, so say you came to us in the January for retinopathy, time your optician's appointment in 6 months, and then theoretically you're being checked every 6 months for things. But the optician doesn't do retinal screening, but they'll have a check for everything else. And they're really good. So, use it. If you're going to go to the optician, definitely go and use that appointment. Definitely.
Because with you saying like you check for the retina, so obviously as well, it's very common with diabetes is a detached retina, and I know that you can, the hospital can perform like a simple operation to like reattach the retina. So do you look for things like detached retinas also?
Yeah, we do, but a detached retina for a diabetic patient would normally come after a diabetic patient's had laser and things like that already. So that patient's normally under the eye clinic already for things like that. Yeah, but we do see detached retinas. So especially if it's a patient who's DNA'd over a number of years and their retinopathy has got really, really poor, and it has caused a detached retina. And you need to fix that within a certain amount of time as well. You can't leave it weeks and weeks. It has to be fixed. We do a detached retina as a same day referral to the eye clinic. So they're seen the same day.
Thank you. So the other question is, if somebody is housebound and, they can't attend, the berry clinic for the eye screening appointment, do you provide home visits? And if not, what are the other options available, if any, for patients who are housebound?
So if a patient's housebound, it depends. It sounds funny, but it depends what kind of level they're housebound at. If they don't go out of the house whatsoever, then we don't at the minute provide home visits for diabetic retinopathy checks. But obviously Specsavers will come and do a home visit, or the outside clinic, they do home visits as well. They don't check for diabetic checks, but they will check for your general eye health. So it's still advised to get an optician's out to your home. But if a patient is in a wheelchair but can obviously move around, then they are still invited for screening and still welcome in any clinic. And if anyone wants to come and visit a clinic before their appointment because they're a bit wary about what's going to happen, that's also welcome. We can just arrange that as well.
Thank you. And I've got 2 more questions. So if somebody who is not had a diabetic, who has not had a diagnosis of diabetes, but they've received a letter for an eye screening, why is that they've received a letter for eye screening but they haven't had a diagnosis of diabetes?
Thanks for that, Steph.
Do you want me to
Yeah, no, that's fine. Sorry, go on.
Normally the GP puts them on the list as being diabetic, and the list gets uploaded to us, so they need to speak to their GP about that, really, because the GP has listed them as diabetic, and we screen every patient within 6 weeks of diagnosis. So if the patient just has a word with the receptionist or the secretary at the GP and find out why the GP has listed them. A lot of GPs list patients who are pre-diabetic and don't have the conversation with the patient, but the patient needs to take that up with the GP. We can't remove them from the list without the GP telling us to remove them from the list.
Right, and thank you. And one more question. So obviously you're the grader for North Manchester. So what does that involve? So do you take a closer look at the images that have been taken during the appointment? Obviously, like the 2 ladies said, they can't discuss the results in clinic because the laptop's too small. So does the grading, they take a more closer advanced look at the pictures?
Yeah, I'm the senior grader at Greater Manchester North, so I do ROG level. So what happens is when you're in clinic and you get your images taken, they're sent to our queue, and it's a primary grading queue, which is first full disease queue. So the grader will bring your images up, look at them really close. We can manipulate the images, check them against last year's images if they're already there, see if there's any changes, have them side by side, and we look for changes. And they have a really good look around all the images taken, and then they decide if there's any diabetes there or if there's any non-diabetes seen as well. There is certain non-diabetic features we do look for, and we just flag to the GP. But as for diabetes, they'll click on a grading pro forma if they've seen any microaneurysms, which is tiny little MA leakages of blood, anything worse than that, new vessels, if it's a worst case scenario, things like that. So what happens is it then goes to a secondary grader. So another grader looks at them images if there's that, you know, if disease has been seen on them, and they don't see what the first disease graders written. They have their own view on them eyes. So as long as them two agree, it will come to a ROG grader, and they'll decide if it needs to be seen by someone, referred to the hospital eye service, come back next year, or come back in 3 months, and we'll have a watchful wait, we call it, for anything we just think may, you know, go back to normal in 3 months, or, you know, we'll decide when they come back. But having images already is our main thing we need, because once you've been, I've got them images, I've got your vision set in stone, that's what your vision was like when you came last year. So if there's a drop in vision, I can see that straight away, and I can go, why is their vision dropped? I want to know the reason for that. You know, this hemorrhage wasn't there last time, let's flag that. It is a complex, it does take a long time, but you could be checked theoretically by a primary grader, a secondary grader, an arbitration grader. The arbitration grader is for if the first disease grader and the second disease grader do not agree. So it will go to an arbitration grader, and they decide the grade, and then it goes to a ROG grader if you need referral to someone. So it is quite complex there.
Thank you, and that's all my questions. Thank you for answering them.
Thanks, Steph.
Oh, we've lost. Yes, so thank you very much for your time today, ladies. We really do appreciate you coming on and explaining more about that. I know it's something that doesn't have as much awareness as it really needs to have, really, I don't feel. So we do appreciate your time and for you coming on this live, and thank you very much. We will let you get back to your important work. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.